Hey everybody, welcome to a Kamigawa set review. I was thinking, I always put out strong opinions on Twitch, especially when people ask me about the new cards, the spoilers, and I always make predictions. So I thought, why not just make a set review? Just cover the top cards in Constructed, not Limited. Limited, so many people are already doing Limited. Let's focus on the best stuff for Constructed. Mostly gonna be on Historic and Standard Alchemy, the Arena sets. Maybe I mention Legacy or Modern from time to time. And yeah, let's right jump in. No, before we jump in, I want to talk about some honorable mentions because a top 5 list is rather short. And before we go to those top cards, we'll check out the honorable mention. Let's start. All right, I'll shut off my webcam so I'm not in the way. We have Touch of the Spirit Realm. It's an Oblivion Ring variant, 3-mana enchantment, exiles artifact or creature. And you can also channel, which means you can 2-mana discard it, exile any artifact or creature, not just yours. And that creature or artifact will be returned to the owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So this is sort of reminding me of Valorous Stance, which is on the one hand a removal, on the other hand a protection spell. So here you can protect your creature from a removal with the channel ability. You can also kill a token off. This can kill anything like a Hangerback Walker, for example, or any token, a Stone Cold Serpent out of recent memory, with the channel ability for 2 mana. Just exile, it comes back as a 0/0, or it just comes back as nothing in case of a token. It doesn't come back. So that's pretty cool. It's basically, So, and when you cover the right variety of on the one hand, creature decks, you want to exile creatures and artifacts with this 3-mana enchantment. On the other hand, you are also good against control decks that don't play creatures because you can use your own, you can use the channel to protect your own stuff. So that is a flexible card. I love flexibility. That's huge and Constructed. So we might see some play with this one. It's also an enchantment which works with the new enchantment plus artifact. I get a bonus mechanic from Kamigawa. Light Pause, Emperor's Voice, kind of reminiscent of SRAM and Core Spirit Dancer and Historic a little bit. People instantly think, oh yeah, this is going to slot in. I have a hard time thinking this will slot in that easily in these decks. I think the ability to search for an aura is not that exciting because in the end we're talking about very unexciting auras like 1/1 and Vigilance and so on that we fetch up, like Sentinel's Eyes, Cartouche of Solidarity is kind of good. Or Arcane Flight. I mean, it's good, but it's not crazy good. And as soon as you play some auras, you won't have that many duplicates anymore. Like you won't have any different names one anymore because you're only playing you play 3 different 1-drops, 12 cards in total. It doesn't work with dead weight. You can't fetch up removal because you have to put it on the Light Pause Emperor's Voice. And it also is not a cast trigger. So that means if you play Light Pause, then play your aura, they can just respond with a removal spell and kill it off. And you will get 2 for 1. With SRAM and Core Spirit Dancer, at least it was a cast trigger. When you cast the aura, you get to draw a card. So it didn't matter if they killed a creature in response. So I'm not that excited about this one. I'm sure people are going to try it in any of the auras deck in Historic, but I don't think it's going to be that exciting. Lion Sash is on here. Lion Sash. People have been talking about this one, even for Modern. Of course, it is very reminiscent of a format powerhouse like Scavenging Ooze. But there's some crucial differences here. So, for one, a 1/1 is quite the difference to a Scavenging Ooze 2/2. So if you play this on turn 2, it's going to be a 1/1. There are not going to be much cards in the graveyard on turn 2 in the newer formats. So Scavenging Ooze being a 2/2 was already a lot better there because a 2/2 is not great, of course, for 2 mana, but it is at least a creature that can do something. Then you get, for 1 mana, you can exile anything, you get a 1/1 counter if it's a permanent, but you don't gain life anymore if it's a creature. Scavenging Ooze, this is a pretty mana-intensive stuff you're doing here, right? Like you have to exile, you have to pay mana, So, I mean, in aggro decks, I can't really imagine this card that well, because you just want to curve out with powerful stuff. You want to go 1, 2, 3, and then just play efficient cards. Playing a 2-mana 1/1 that you have to slowly grow, I mean, that's good in the late game, but it's not good on curve. So I can't really imagine this in aggro decks. Anyways, what I wanted to say is, when you're investing so much mana, it is nice to gain some life back to make up for that lost mana. So that has Scavenging Ooze also going for it. The Lion Sash can be re-equipped for 2 extra mana, but that is 4 mana to do nothing, first of all, because then you also, like, you play it for 2, then you equip it for 2, and it gives nothing to the creature. You have to invest more mana to pump it up. Yes, there's flexibility. Yes, it is an artifact. There's some artifact synergies in Kamigawa. But overall, I don't think this is going to make much of a splash. If you're looking for graveyard removal in Standard and Historic, you have better things going on. Like Sun Gold Sentinel, for example, is a premium 2-drop on 2 mana you can play if you want to interact with your opponent's graveyard. I don't think this card is going to make much of a splash. All right, next slide. We got the Dawn Sky, the new dragon. I can already see myself putting most of these dragons on the honorable mentions page, because yes, they're splashy, yes, they're powerful, but for a 5-mana card, for a 5-mana creature, it has to be quite good against removal, in my estimation, to be worthwhile. Because yes, it can be crazy special and blah blah blah, but if it just gets countered by a cheap counterspell, if it just gets bounced, if it just gets exiled by Vanishing Verse, or any of the various effects in Standard, like Rite of Oblivion. We have a new card in the new set, is Soul Transfer, is a 3-mana exile effect in black that looks very playable to me. So all these dragons can just be exiled for no value, and then you lose out on a lot of mana in that exchange. So there's risk involved to them. I think they could see sideboard play. They're definitely powerful. I mean, if you bought this the Dawn Sky, into a matchup where they don't have any exiling and they fight on the ground like a green deck, I could see this card being fine. Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be much. It's just a liability, you know? Like, when Vanishing Verse is a popular card, you don't want to put 5 drops into your deck that are bad against that. Brilliant Restoration is a spicy one, and also a pretty difficult to cast card. I mean, by turn 7, you can convince me that in a 2-color deck, if you have a very good mana base, you can cast a quadruple white spell in a 2-color deck. But I mean, if you're trying to do 3-color things, that's gonna get tough. Return all artifact and enchantments. This is obviously some sort of combo effect. In Historic, you can return Solemnity or 9 lives, establish yourself. You can discard with, for example, First for Meaning, the 3-mana draw 3 cards, discard 2 or an enchantment. You can play that together with this, discard some enchantments, then cast this thing, win the game on the spot. There's certainly crazy things you can do with this. There's a lot of potential, but there's also conditions that have to be met. And because of those conditions, I don't see this card seeing much play. But we'll see. Maybe there's something to it. Invoke Justice is another difficult, very, very difficult card to cast. It is a very powerful effect. You can return a permanent, any permanent, so planeswalker, creature, whatever, to the battlefield, and then distribute another 4 1/1 counters. That is quite the amount of power, but it is conditioned that you have a target permanent in your graveyard. So if your opponent messes with your graveyard, you won't be able to do anything. White is not known to be the best color to put cards into their own graveyard, so their opponent has to do some work to make your things die or whatever. Invoke Justice, costing quadruple white on a 5-drop, will make it basically borderline impossible to cast outside of a mono white deck, which is another condition put on the card. What are you returning? I mean, if you're returning the Dawn Sky or some Planeswalker that costs 4 or 5 mana, hey, you have a pretty strong effect there. But you also need creatures or vehicles to make that work again. So there's a lot of things conditional. The mana cost is pretty conditional. So that all makes me not really excited about this card. Yes, it's powerful, but hey, power is not everything. You have to look at the context. You have to look at everything. And in all the context that I can envision, I don't think this card is going to be that fantastic. All right, let's introduce the little Arne webcam back here, now that we have some more space. Banishing Slash. On number 5 here in the top 5. You were like, huh? Banishing Slash, this is kind of innocent looking. Is this really that good? Yes, it is. It is a very useful card. Yes, it's not splashy. It's nothing insane special. It's no mythic. But it is, I think, a very useful card that's going to see especially play in Alchemy because of Key to the Archive. You have a very powerful artifact, but you don't want to main deck disenchant effects. You don't want to main deck effects that, like, that's why a Braid is so good, for example. A Braid is a 2-mana deal free to a creature or destroy an artifact. And it's all of a sudden, it's a million times better in a format that is with heavy artifacts and so on than like a 2-mana deal free exile a creature or whatever. And I think a Braid is one of the big winners of Kamigawa, because Kamigawa has a ton of artifacts, so we're going to see the stock of a Braid rising in Standard and in Alchemy. And this is similar with this card, because it can not only destroy artifacts and enchantments, which is already a good flexibility, it can also destroy tapped creatures. This is like the white Braid. And not only that, you can also get a 2/2 white samurai creature token, which is samurai, I mean, that's sweet. If you control an artifact and enchantment. Of course, that's not going to be always the case, but maybe, I mean, white has enchantments. Maybe there's some artifacts lying around, and you can get that extra bonus. And if you do that, I mean, this card's just bonkers. So, yes, the flexibility, sorcery speed, and double white is an extra cost on that card, but the flexibility definitely pays up for this one. All right, next up, we got March of Otherworldly Light. A very interesting card. This is the one I'm a little uncertain about. I could see that this card is not good enough, but I think it has some potential for sure. And I don't quite think it's going to be like a 4-off in every white deck or like in the white control decks in Alchemy and Standard and Historic, but it's going to be, especially in Historic, I could see it being like a 1 or 2-off. Just the flexibility alone is pretty nice on this card. And when you're on a draw, you can pitch a card of your hand, which doesn't cost you as much because you're already on a draw. You have an extra card, and then you can snipe a creature from your opponent for cheap. You can snipe whatever. The flexibility is good. The late game ability of this card to kill almost anything is pretty nice. The inefficiency is the cost of this one, but the inefficiency is made up by exiling cards from your hand. So this card could definitely see play. If you think about the format, we also have stuff like Memory Deluge, which is in itself a 4-for-1, potentially. So when you have cards like Memory Deluge in your deck, you don't really mind exiling a card that much. You know, you can exile a card from your hand. You can go down a card for just that extra tempo, because you have these extra cards coming in late game anyways. So I think this card has a lot of potential. I'm liking it. It's a nice interaction spell, and I think they striked a good balance on this one. It's not too powerful, like a force of will effect. It's not too strong. It's not too weak either. So that's pretty nice about this card. Number 3, another one that looks kind of innocent, but I think it's going to make a big splash and it's going to see a lot of play. We have a white Elvish Visionary here, which is also an enchantment creature, which can be downside and upside. A 2-mana 1-mana draws a card. So this, of course, works with Soul Herder and all the various flicker effects in Historic or in Standard and Alchemy. So you can use this forever to just get extra cards there. It is an enchantment, so it works perhaps with any enchantment synergies. You can play it and draw a card from whatever enchantment, the Enchantress sort of card draw you have. So there's a synergy there. This is like the perfect type of card to just put in your deck if you are looking for artifact and enchantment synergy to put that new mechanic in Kamigawa to good use. This is the perfect. Cheap, replaces itself. It's really nice. It's going to be a great role player. Where this card is also going to be seeing play, I'm sure, is in the black-white sacrifice decks. I think they're really looking forward to like a 2-mana 1/1. I was actually saying that maybe a week or so ago. Hey, if the black-white decks would have like a 2-mana replace itself 1/1. That's not there's the one that is from Crimson Vault. It's a 2-mana 1/1 and it gets you planes. But getting you planes is not quite as good as drawing you a card. So I do think this card is going to see a lot of play and might even be It's not that splashy, but it might be the white card in this set that will see the most play across formats. Here we have a powerful card, the Restoration of Arganjo. First chapter, you get a basic plains. Second chapter, you may discard a card, so you can discard that basic plains, and then return a permanent, any permanent, with mana value 2 or less to the battlefield tapped. So that could be a creature, that could be a portable hold, that could be something like a Spiritual Companion that just died on turn 2, chump blocking, and then you get another Spiritual Companion, draw another card. Or it could just be the plains, and then you ramp yourself from turn 4 to turn, you just get an extra mana in play, you ramp to turn 6 essentially. And then on to chapter 3, you get a Brimmer's King of Ereskos, sort of. Pretty much, not quite that strong, but pretty much. If you remember that one, that was a really strong creature from Pharaohs, the first Pharaohs edition. You get a 3/4 vigilance creature that makes a 1/1 whenever it attacks and blocks. So on defense it makes a 1/1, on attacks it makes a 1/1. This card is, it's just a good creature. So you have, on the one hand, you ramp yourself, you get a plains, you ramp yourself at the very least, and then you get a 3/4 enchantment creature. This card does a lot of things, a lot of value. It's just on sheer rate, it seems very, very strong. And then you have enchantment synergies and so on. And even if your opponent has like a Vanishing Verse, the first chapter will resolve and you will get that basic plains at the very least. So if they then Vanishing Verse it, which they probably have to, then you still have that plains and it replaces itself. So that is fantastic, really. This card is great. All right, now to our number one. You probably can already expect who it's gonna be. It's, of course, the Wandering Emperor. Whoo, baby. Look at that card. First of all, that artwork, wow. We still don't have a name, which is a little confusing. It's an emperor. Shouldn't you have a name, you know? Like, shouldn't we know you by your name if you're the emperor of a place? Anyways, it's a Flash Planeswalker. Hell yeah. So this card is gonna definitely slot into control decks very nicely. It is just, I can't even, look, like the play pattern of playing this end of turn and exiling a creature, and then you have it around to either make another vampire, not a vampire, why am I confusing samurais with vampires? I guess Sorin, I've played too much with Sorin the Mirthless lately. So then you get another token, that's already a pretty good deal, and I can only imagine that this card is pretty bonkers in control mirrors as well. Whenever someone taps out for like something end of turn, a memory deluge or something, you just splash this in, make a samurai. And then you have a samurai producing little planeswalker here. This card has a ton of potential. It's not only good defensively, I think it's also good proactively. A reason why Collected Company is so good is because against control decks that have sweepers, you can just deploy to the board on turn 2 and turn 3, and just pass the turn. Hey, they can go ahead and cast the Anger of the Gods. You'll just cast the Collected Company at the end step. And this is kind of similar for any aggressive deck. You can just cast this then in the end step. It's good against sweepers, produces some samurais, pumps them up, and in control decks, it can exile a target capped creature. You gain 2 life. So this card is just all around well designed. I love the flash aspect. Absolutely love this one. And okay, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm hoping it sees a lot of play. Maybe Spirited Companion is going to be the all-star in white from the set. But this is definitely the shining, boom, this is it. The card in white here on number 1. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm totally wrong? Did I forget anything? What is your opinion? Is this card trash? Is this card good? Did I miss any interactions that are very, very good? Let me know what you think. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you like the video, if you like this content. I'm definitely planning to do more of these little tiny set reviews on the different colors in Kamigawa. And we'll see how that goes. All right, guys, have a good one. See you next time. Bye-bye.